Instagram. So this video is a pretty big deal for me. I just went back and had a look, and I have not been on Instagram live in over a year. The last time I was on here, I think it was July of 2022. So this is my I'm back video. I've been waiting for this moment for a very long time. And I am simultaneously so grateful and excited. And I also don't think I've ever been so terrified to do a live before. Actually, I know I haven't. And there was a part of me when I went on here and saw that there were 700 of you online that I was like, oh fuck no. I'm gonna wait. But I'm just gonna jump in. And I'm surprised that I'm doing it now. I thought that I was gonna do it during Scorpio season because that's kind of my power season, but this Aries full moon coming in had other plans. So here we are. Hi guys. Oh my God, this feels crazy. Lives are intense in general. It's a weird thing to be alone in your room and to hear the echo of your voice, but then have like literally hundreds of people talking to you. It's very strange. But it's really scary when you're going to talk about personal stuff. And that's what I'm doing today. So if you're here for astrology, I'm so sorry. I'm not really going to talk about that today. I will be talking about that lots very soon. And that is one of the things that I am so fucking excited about, is that I'm back and I'm going to be doing tons of lives again after a long hiatus. And there was a part of me that was going to just come back and do that. I was just going to come back and do like a full moon in Aries live and just pretend like nothing happened. And I actually called like 3 different friends and was like, can I do that? Like, can I just like go back to everything and pretend that the last year of my life didn't occur? And they were all like, no, dude, like after what you went through, you really need to tell people what happened. And I want to do that for a couple reasons. 1, I want to be vulnerable. I want to be honest. 2, there are things that I learned from my challenges last year that are going to, that reaped benefits that are going to directly affect this channel. Thankfully, although I lost a lot last year, I gained, honestly, even more. And a lot of that comes in the form of wisdom that I'm now going to be able to share with all of you guys. And so that is my plan, to kind of alchemize the shadow into light in some way, because last year was no joke. It nearly broke me. Well, it actually did. It did break me, but it nearly took me out. It was not cool. So yeah, it would just be really inauthentic, I guess, to come back and not talk about it. And I know that I told you guys I had surgery, and, you know, people probably are able to connect their own dots around certain things that went on. I know you guys know that I lost my dog, but there was a lot that I didn't talk about because I didn't have the bandwidth at the time, and you'll understand why in a second. It was just too much, and I had to take a massive step back from doing any kind of live because I was processing so much. So anyways, enough of an intro. I'm clearly stalling. That's why I'm here. So I'm going to tell you guys a bit about what happened, and this isn't easy for me to do at all. I don't like talking about myself very much. Not about this stuff. I also have like legitimately some PTSD about last year. So there's a part of me that's like, am I going to be able to get through this without having an anxiety attack? But I'm just going to trust that I won't. Some of this stuff is really hard to remember. So I'm going to go into some of it, and some of the stuff that I won't go into. Okay. So the health thing is probably, oh, thank you, Elizabeth. So the health thing is probably the thing that's going to take the longest to explain, but I think that it is super important to go along with the rest of everything that was going on so people understand why this was so hard. So as many of you know, I had a very invasive jaw surgery last year in August. And if I look a little different, that's why. My face is actually structurally slightly different. I also literally spiritually died last year, and I'm literally a different person. So there's probably a few reasons why I look different. But literally my bone structure is different. So yeah, I had jaw surgery last year, and I had it as a last resort, to a long-standing health issue that I had been dealing with for a very long time that was very serious. So I was struggling with something called sleep apnea, and some of you may have heard of it before. It took me a very long time to be diagnosed with it because I don't fit the criteria, or I don't look like somebody that would have it, but it's actually a very common thing. And it does affect people that tend to be overweight, and clearly I'm not. So it was very hard for me to get regular doctors to take me seriously for a very long time. So I struggled with this for a while without knowing that I had it, not sure what was going on. And anyway, long story short, I guess I should explain what it is. So sleep apnea is a breathing related disorder where as you're falling asleep, your body loses oxygen because your airways are obstructed for some reason. So obviously your body doesn't want you to die, doesn't want you to suffocate while you're sleeping, so it wakes you up. And an apnea is essentially like a mini awakening where you either jolt awake, or more commonly, you just come out of sleep enough to start breathing again, and then you slip back into sleep. So that's why a lot of people will have it for a long time and not know, because they may not even remember waking up. They're just kind of like skating wakefulness and sleep, but never actually getting legitimate rest, never getting restorative rest, never getting REM sleep. So you can imagine that you start to not feel very good. I'm not joking when I tell you that I'm a pretty fucking strong person. This was the worst thing I've ever been through, hands down. When I finally got my sleep study, they clocked me at waking up 20 times an hour. So I was literally pretty much never getting rest. And so that was I finally found that out, I think, in 2019. So I finally had the acknowledgement that something was deeply wrong. And I mean, this was after like a lot of health issues were showing up, a lot of, which I'll get into in a little bit. So anyway, so they're like, yep, you do have sleep apnea. And thus began a long, long journey of trying to fix this. And what you find when you're diagnosed with this is that people really don't know what the fuck they're doing. And the first thing they did was recommend that I get my tonsils out, which, I guess for some people this does fix the issue, where they remove the tonsils. That gives you more airway in your throat, and then you're able to breathe. I was so exhausted at this point. I really wasn't able to advocate for myself very well. In retrospect, I wish I had had more support around me, people to advocate for me, but I didn't for various reasons. Partly because I'm not good at asking for help. That's definitely part of it is my responsibility. I will say that. So they recommend this to me. I really didn't want to do that. I mean, doctors will act like getting tonsils out is no big deal. I mean, it's part of your fucking lymphatic system. It is a fucking big deal. You want your tonsils, right? But I also didn't want to die. Sleep apnea puts stress on your heart. It's not good. You know, people do die of it. And so I was like, all right, fuck it. I'm shortening the story. You know, this was months and months and months of research and whatever. Meanwhile, mind you, and this gets into something that I want to, at some point, share more about regarding chronic illness. This was when I started to be horrendously gaslit by certain people in the New Age spiritual community who were just relentless about telling me that I needed to juice cleanse and I needed to do all this shit. Meanwhile, like, cleansing is not something that's new to me. I've done a lot of it. My journey with health has been insane. I mean, I've gone from bulimic and anorexic in high school to, you know, trying to get my health back through veganism and, like, I've done it all, you know, like, I've fucking done it all. So, yeah, that was really upsetting. You know, my friendships community went through a huge wormhole during this whole process where, yeah, we'll get to that later. So anyway, it is, yeah, somebody's talking about getting their tonsils removed as a child. Literally the worst surgery. The jaw surgery was easier than the tonsillectomy. So I got a tonsillectomy when I lived in Nevada City. Some of you guys might remember. I believe that was 2021. Long story short, it did nothing. I got it done. It was awful. It was 5 weeks on the couch, liquids only. My partner at the time did an amazing job of taking care of me during that. Props to him. It's a fucking nightmare. Got a sleep study after the surgery, and my results were actually like a little bit worse for God knows what reason. So, for brevity's sake, I'm going to push through here, but just know that that was like a big, very, very hard moment in my life, a very depressing moment in my life. Feeling hopeless, still not sleeping. So that was also what made recovering from my tonsillectomy really hard, is I wasn't really getting sleep. So your body kind of needs that to heal, right? So at this point, and yeah, I mean, I guess my fucking life was falling apart at this point. I mean, like, astrology is literally the only thing I was able to do. And that really says something, because, like, I would be about to sit down with a client because I had medical bills. So it's not like I could stop working. I mean, at one point, my medical bills last year were $4,000 a month from all of this, you guys. Like, I was drowning and I had to keep working. And I would be like, how the fuck am I going to do this? Like, I can't even think. And I would sit down with the client, and this crazy energy from I don't even know where would come into my body, and I would nail it. And then I would almost be like, I'd feel like I had coffee for an hour after the session, like full on, like, I don't know. I don't know how it happened. God is how it happened. I just love this work so much, and apparently I'm able to do it no matter what. But everything else was fucking falling apart. There's a fly in my room. I hope you guys can't hear that. Yeah, so everything else was falling the fuck apart. My health was falling apart really bad. So I basically developed an anxiety disorder because I was in such a suspended state of fight or flight. I mean, think about it. you're basically suffocating all night. Not basically, you are. You're literally suffocating, and your body is in a high state of alert to keep you alive. But you're also incredibly fatigued. So you're basically just being pumped with cortisol all the time. Well, that didn't start to just affect me at night. It started to affect me all the time, where I would have panic attacks about anything that would raise my heart rate. Then they would just start happening whenever. I lost a lot of opportunities. Well, I don't want to say that. I didn't lose anything, but it felt like it at the time. I had to say no to a couple of retreats. One was in Mexico I really wanted to do, and I just didn't trust that I would be able to do it. I was like, I might fucking have a panic attack, you know. My relationship was really suffering. I feel really sad about that. It just sucks that it went that way for us, because we had such a beautiful relationship, but I was very, very chronically ill and struggling. And he was such a supportive partner, as much as he could be through the process, but it was really, really hard because there wasn't really anything anybody could do. And it was like, we were looking for answers. We couldn't find them. I was getting more and more depressed and angry. And I mean, y'all probably know how you feel after a day or two of not sleep. Imagine that for like years, you know? And there were so many nights that I just cried all night, you know, and he was there and he definitely held space. And I can't even imagine what that process was like for him to watch someone suffering like that and not really be able to do anything. Okay, so let's get through that part. So nightmare, right? So, one thing I am really good at is, research. I research obsessively. And, so I had been researching this so much, like, you know, and I ended up coming across a channel on YouTube, for the Breathe Institute. I believe it's the Breathe. Is it the Breath or the Breathe? Breathe. It doesn't matter. I think it's the Breathe Institute. It is in LA, and it is a whole floor of a building full of angelic beings who literally dedicate their life to curing people of breath-related disorders. And they thought they might have an answer for me. So I had a consult, came down to LA. They did CT scans of my body. And they ended up finding out that in my case, the issue was structural. So it wasn't anything in my throat actually at all. It was in my bone structure, and that I am structurally in my face a very narrow person. And essentially, your tongue is supposed to be able to fit perfectly in your palate, in the top of your mouth, like that. And if your palate is too narrow and raised, the tongue doesn't sit correctly, is basically the best way I could put it. Which during the day you would never notice. But at night, this can cause your tongue to slide back and obstruct your airway. But this only happens when you fall asleep. So you can see why it would be a difficult thing to diagnose. They actually ended up putting me under and putting a camera down there to confirm it. Figured that out. So this was amazing. So I was like, okay, we finally know why the fuck this is happening. It's weird, but okay. Also apparently common. Like, I don't know. So, so then they're like, okay, cool. So we know what's going on. That's great news. The bad news is the only way you can fix it is to have this really intense jaw surgery. So I'm like, okay, cool. What is this? What is this surgery? So I get assigned this amazing surgeon, and I love this man so much. Dr. C, if you're watching this, he probably will, because he knows what a big deal this video is for me. I love you so much. Like, this guy fucking saved my life. Not even joking. Like, legitimately. Tiarni, DM me. We'll talk. So I get assigned my surgeon, Magic Man. And he tells me about the journey I'm about to go on. So fucking crazy. And hopefully I explain it right, because like I'm obviously not a surgeon, but so basically he explained that we were going to perform maxillary expansion surgery. And what maxillary expansion is essentially is that you're going to expand your maxillary. In this case, your upper mandible, your upper jaw. So my bottom is not different. So basically, your bone is fused, as I understand it, for the most part after the age of 25. So in other words, you can't use an expander without surgery and have it work, most likely. Your bone's not going to move. So they have to make an incision, or a few of them. So they made an incision in between my two front teeth, through the bone, and I think, yes, 2 incisions here, through my skull. Then they implanted an expander with screws in the top of my mouth. And then they gave me a key, and every day for about 50 days, I put the key in and I turned the key and it opened my skull using the incisions that they made so that they could actually move my bone. Surprisingly, that part wasn't very painful. That's like really crazy. You would think it is. That part wasn't. It was weird, but it wasn't really very painful. So my upper teeth are actually, I believe, 9 millimeters, whatever. I can never remember if it's millimeters. Fucking caterpillar. I don't know what the fuck it is. Millimeters. Is it millimeter? Who cares? Whatever. It's about this big. Totally medieval, right? So, it was really fucking intense. Then they cut the arms off the device and it had to sit in the top of my mouth for 6 months. Now that's a whole other part of this. So now I need to start talking about what started happening at the same time. So, I had my surgery in August. In June, Santo started to get sick. And simultaneously, my relationship of 4 years was dissolving. When I moved to LA, my partner stayed in Nevada City. And we were planning on doing long distance, which we had done a few different times in our relationship. And basically things were falling apart. Life was pulling us in different directions. Neither of us wanted that to be the case, but that's what was going on. Not to mention, obviously, my health struggles were not making things in the relationship easier, that's for sure. And there were other factors at play as well. So, that starts happening, and then Santo gets sick in June. And he was sick for about a month. I do not want to go into this very much. It was very traumatic, but it was not a good death for him. Of course, it was what it was supposed to be. It's his journey. It's his soul. And I have to just kind of like let that be what it is. But I was walking with that creature for 13 years. And I always envisioned, because death is such a beautiful part of life, I really wanted his death to be amazing. I wanted I had a vision, I guess. You know, it was literally the thing I dreaded more than anything, but I at least wanted it to be this epic send-off. That is not what it was, unfortunately. I was there. I'm glad I was there. He really suffered. He really suffered. And I was doing everything I could. I think in the end, I think I spent $10,000 on him that month trying to keep him alive. Meanwhile, coming up with $4,000 a month for other stuff. I mean, it was crazy. It was really, I was really treading water, and pulling rabbits out of hats and just putting manifestation into the highest gear I had. And I don't fucking know how I did it, but I did it. And, anyway, tried to keep him alive. He was suffering. He had basically, I will never really know what caused him to transition. All I know is that he started vomiting and never stopped. And they ran every test that they could. They checked him for stomach cancer. They checked him for an obstruction. They checked him for irritable bowel. They checked him. And then what ended up happening is his esophagus essentially dilated from all the vomiting. And he ended up asphyxiating on food and liquid because it couldn't get to his stomach, which they were warning me would happen. And unfortunately it did happen. So his lungs collapsed, and I got him to the vet and we put him down, and he was in my arms, and he was very aware that I was there with him, but he was very scared and he couldn't breathe, just like his mom. Fucking crazy. So that was just a little too much at that point. And then unfortunately my relationship dissolved 2 weeks later. In not a very good way. So, yeah, it was kind of like one of these years or moments in life where you're like, please God, not that thing. And then please God, not that thing. And please God, not that thing. It was like all my worst fears basically happened at the same time. And, it was fucking awful. So I went into my surgery in the middle of August, devastated. More than devastated. I mean, like, fucking unraveling. I don't even know the word. I don't even know the word for it. Out of my mind is definitely comes to mind. I think I did have some kind of a mental breakdown. I definitely was not myself at all. To his credit, my partner did come down and take care of me for my surgery. And then we stopped contact after that. We are thankfully now working on a friendship, but it was not a good ending for us. And that was really hard. I know, like, breakups suck in general. Like, they really fucking suck, especially for somebody with Venus and Scorpio, man. We feel that shit. But what made this really, really hard is that I don't think we ever expected to separate. And I can't say that I've ever felt that in my life before. This was definitely the first relationship that I was, like, pretty sure, I mean, would have pretty much bet my life on it that we were solid and that we would make it through anything. And so it was like this really blindsiding thing for both of us of like, holy shit, forces beyond our control and some in our control are tearing us apart. And so that was fucking horrible. So yeah, recovering from surgery was really fun because it was like, I was in bed. I couldn't really even talk for the first, I don't remember, I think the first month. Couldn't even work, couldn't make videos. My dog, who would normally be like right at my side, was gone. My partner, who would normally be right at my side, was gone. Yeah, I was living in this tiny fucking room. It's actually, crazy enough, the same room I'm in now that's gone through a whole remodel, just like me. It's such a trip. Yeah, I was in this tiny room. It's actually in my kitchen now, but it was walled off and it didn't even have, it was basically a construction zone, but it was all I could afford because I was literally, again, paying $4,000 a month for fucking medical bills. So I took what I could. A friend let me stay in there for a very low price, and it was basically very dark. There wasn't much light in there. And I had my altar, this one, and there wasn't really much space for much else. And I literally spent a year in front of that thing, alone, going through it. So that is where the wisdom comes in. Yeah, Charney. So that was Uranus and Saturn together on my Scorpio stellium. That's what that was. Fuck that, dude. Jesus. So anyways, okay. Actually, there's one more piece and then I'll get to the good stuff. So, somewhere in there, really great decision, I end up spiraling into addiction. Well, first, do I want to get into that? I don't really need to go into detail, but I had developed a bit of a habit with sleeping pills because of my issue. Very dangerous habit to have with sleep apnea. You do the math, like you need your body to be able to wake you up. And if you're sedated, that's potentially not going to happen. And I was very aware of that, but I was so fucking desperate that like, it was like, whatever. So I kind of get hooked on over-the-counter sleeping pills, which was super embarrassing because I'm like very herbal, I don't take fucking Tylenol, you know what I mean? But there I was fucking popping basically antihistamine medication to fucking go to sleep. Also really bad idea. So I had that going on. I started smoking cigarettes again. And I started drinking again. Basically like as the relation, just like in the midst of it all. Right. And, definitely not helpful and entered a very dark place. In retrospect, I know that it's something I really had to go through and more importantly, get out of, so that I can help other people with addiction. It is not something I've been open about on any platform, really. I think I've like mentioned it here and there. It's a hard thing. It's a hard thing to talk about. It's a very Scorpio thing. It's a veiled conversation, that like only your really close people know about. And it's a hard thing to open up about in front of other people. But I know that a lot of people deal with it. So I'm like, fuck it. I'm ready. Like, let's fucking do this shit. So, yeah, I would say like September to December were like my death spiral. Like, oh, so the surgery, did it work? Did it not work? So initially we weren't sure because I was having panic attacks so much, even though the surgery had happened, that I couldn't even tell if it had worked or not because my body was so used to waking up. So like, imagine that, right? You go through this whole fucking thing, your jaw's pried apart and you still can't fucking sleep. Like, are you kidding me? Right? So that was when I was literally at this very like, fuck it point where I was like, yeah, I was going into my shadow hardcore and I was very aware that I was doing it and I was being very fucking self-destructive. And I was at the point where I was like, I don't fundamentally agree with suicide on a soul level, Not because I don't understand it, because I fucking do. Like, I so do. I've so been there. This last fall was one of those times. But for a living, I look at the nodes of the moon all day long, the south node and the north node. And I know that we come back and repeat our karma. So I was actually like pissed because I was like, this isn't fucking fair. I don't want to be here anymore. But I also know I can't leave because I'm just going to have to come back and I'm actually going to have to do this again. And I know that because I do this all day. I know how accurate this stuff is. Like, there is not a doubt in my mind that that is true, you know? And honestly, this is getting really fucking deep, but I'm pretty fucking sure that the reason this happened to me might have been a past life suicide. Another story for another time. But anyways, so I was like, I don't know what to do. You know, I don't know what to do. I hate being here, but I don't know where to go. And I basically had to crawl my fucking broken body out of the pits of hell. And I fucking did that shit. And I'm here and I'm 9 months sober and I've never in some ways been happier. I put myself on a very, very strict regimen. You guys that were following me know that I was doing this like very obsessive, like sunrise, sunset, sunrise, sunset, sunrise, sunset. And I was able to do the sunrise thing because I wasn't sleeping really anyways. But it was like, I don't know, it was a divine intervention that was like, don't think about the next week. Don't think about the next month. Just make it to sunset. Get up, go watch the sunrise, and then all you have to do is make it to sunset. And sunrises are so beautiful. Like, even if you are the most depressed you've ever been in your life, you can't help but feel like you're in the presence of God, because you are. And so I Contradictions Club, yeah, DM me. I'd love to help you. So yeah. And sorry, lost my train of thought. Yeah, sunrise, sunset. I started doing that. I was spending insane amounts of time alone. Got sober off everything. Went through some pretty intense withdrawals. And on that note, I do want to talk about tobacco addiction, man. People laugh at me when I say that's like my big drug. And I don't know why they laugh, because it is not fucking funny. Tobacco is one of the most addictive substances that we know of, and it kills like more people. So I don't know why people think that's funny or like not legitimate. I'm like, I don't understand. Like, what is this? Like, why do we act like that's like not a huge problem if you can't stop and you're doing something? That's an addiction, and it really scares me. Or scared me when I was doing it, because I'm such a healthy person and it goes against everything I believe in. And I know that there are people out there who have a beautiful relationship with tobacco, and good for them. That's amazing. Power to you. That person is not me. I do not have a healthy relationship with it. I use it to self-destruct. And once I start, I have a very hard time stopping. And the withdrawals are terrible. Fucking terrible, man. So yes, so I quit that. I had to taper off the sleeping pills. That was also a nightmare. I quit drinking, which, you know, I've never been like an everyday type of drinker, but it was more like I was sort of binge drinking, when I would drink, and having issues moderating because I was so depressed and, you know, whatever. So all substances gone, been 9 months now. And okay, so this brings me to, a big part. And this part scares me to talk about, but I'm going to do it anyway. Okay, so in the midst of all this, well, okay. So when Santo transitioned, for about 3 days after he left this world, I felt him. I felt him everywhere. And then after that, he left. And it's actually, or I don't know. I don't know if he left. I don't know if I left. I don't know. I couldn't really feel him, surprisingly, given our connection. But in the 3 days after he died, which I basically just laid on the floor and sobbed in front of the altar, I could feel him. And he told me or communicated to me telepathically. I had a deep knowing. What he kept repeating was essentially, number one, I'm sorry I can't be there for you during your surgery. Because that was one, I was just like, why now? Like, why now? Why would you leave now? Like, during my breakup, and like when I just want something to hold on to, and when I'm going to be in bed for a month. He was the best when you were sick. Oh my God, he would not leave my side. And now here he's gone, and he was sorry for that, but he was like, this is something you have to go through. You have to face this. This is an initiation, basically. And he said, our work together has only just begun. And it's gonna take a different form now. And he basically was like, I have to go to let you be alone. But he said 3 months after, he didn't say it in words, but it was a message, right? I got the deep knowing that 3 months after my surgery, I was going to receive some kind of psychic attunement of some kind. And that the surgery and the death and the whole thing was a part of it. And if I didn't check out and I didn't give up, that there would be some like I don't know, like some fucking portal like I was going to go through, and there was going to be something given to me. And I honestly didn't fucking care at the time. I was like, I don't want a psychic attunement. I'm already psychic. I don't care. Like, I want my fucking dog back. Like, like I really was like, great, and I kind of forgot about it. And literally just about 3 months after receiving that message, that is exactly what happened. And I never in a million years saw it coming. I never in a million years thought that I would be saying this out loud. It's definitely an edge for me, and I'll explain why. But I started having experiences with mediumship. And it took me about 6 months to even accept that that's what was happening to me, even though it was pretty fucking obvious. To be frank and open, I always thought mediums were kind of bullshit. Not because I don't believe in an afterlife, I clearly do. But I was like, dude, we leave, we become one with everything. We go off on a journey. Like, why would we be hanging around talking to earth people? Like, it just didn't really fucking make sense to me on many levels. And all the mediums that I had ever seen, I just got a real, not a good feeling about. We'll just say that. Thanks, Ilea. She's the friend that I was like, can I just come on and pretend that nothing happened? And she was like, literally, dude, no. So you guys can thank Ilea Marie for me talking about this. So yeah, I didn't think that it was a thing. And now that seems really silly, and I must humbly admit my ignorance, because it has opened me to literally the most beautiful, unexplainably, mind-blowingly euphoric experiences of my life. And I'm not joking. I mean, I would say it's just as incredible as the experience of, like, I can't explain. It's otherworldly. It's hard to explain. And it has been a journey of about a year now. Studying the discipline, pretty much dedicating every day to deepening the work. I would say that I'm very much still a novice and compared to masters for sure. But I'm having some pretty incredible experiences, and it is teaching me so many things that I want to share with you guys. I don't know, I kind of doubt that I'll ever be like doing anything. I'm not going to be doing any kind of live reading on this channel. Like, I don't see that being something I would do. But the lessons that the spirits are teaching me, I do want to share. I'm learning so much about the nature of the soul. I'm learning so much about other realms. I'm learning so much about magic and love, and it's just incredible. So I guess now that's kind of why I had to tell this whole story, because it was like, well, my life is forever changed. I'm not just an astrologer now. Now I guess I'm a medium, and I think that owning it and claiming it is a huge part of the journey. And my guides have kind of been like, you need to be able to be honest and own that this is part of your path in order to keep going with it any further. Because if you're holding back, there's a block there. The only people in my life that know are my closest friends, and I shared that with them on my last birthday. It was kind of funny though, because I was like so scared to tell everybody, and I had this very beautiful, intimate gathering of my closest people, and they were all gathered around me. And I think it was Leah Livefree. She's so sweet. She asked, how can we support you in this new year? And my guides are like, now, tell them now. And I'm just like, fuck. So I told my closest friends all at once, like, I'm having these experiences, and I, at that point I was very much like, I don't really know what they mean, but like, this is happening and it's real. And they were all like, obviously you talk just like, they were all like, why do you think that this is so straight? And I don't know, I guess I'm the last one in the party. They were not surprised and were just like, yeah, of course, but anyway, it's a journey. And I think that's everything. I guess okay, so there's one more thing. Thank you guys so much. I can't believe how many people are in the room and interested in this. So the last thing, just what I have planned for my channel, it piggybacks on everything I just shared. I want to be more vulnerable on this channel. This is the first step in that direction. I've been through a lot of shit, like a lot of people have, and I have a lot of experience in things that are hard to talk about. And I want to start talking about them so that I can help other people. And so I have so many things that I'm going to bring on this channel now. Like, astrology will always be the foundation. I'm going into my Saturn square year, which is crazy. Saturn square is when Saturn has gone a quarter of the way around the chart since your Saturn return. And it's when your career goes through a shift. And that's when the mediumship started to come in. Saturn went into my 12th house, and it has been, I would say, a competing interest, although I love them both the same. But it's like, fuck, how do I keep studying astrology and leveling up in that? But then also I really want to take this mediumship stuff further, and, so figuring that out. But all this to say, I'm just going to be opening up this channel a bit, especially on Instagram, to other things. I'm on a crazy journey with my gut health right now, you guys. Holy fuck. So that's the other thing. So I went to Bali to heal and to teach a retreat. I was so excited to go to Bali. I'd wanted to go for so long. And it really was like going home. I have a very deep connection to that beautiful place. And I was traveling pretty much alone the first 3-4 weeks, and just going to these beautiful temples, these beautiful dragon temples, and crawling into these little spaces with my broken heart, and just being in it. Bali really held me. And I ended up having to get stitches, and I unfortunately took a round of antibiotics, and with all the surgeries I'd had, this last round did me in and completely wrecked my gut on top of everything else. So the good news is I'm sleeping now, guys. I feel so good in that regard. Life is so good right now. However, now I've got to kind of heal all the things that are kind of falling apart from so long of going without rest, and all of the medications that I unfortunately took as a result of having such massive surgeries. These were big surgeries, Will I be doing readings as a medium? I don't know. I don't want to say no, because I don't know what my journey. I'm going to do whatever spirit wants me to do, basically. I would say what has been happening in my current astrology readings is I have gotten some images and messages that I have asked permission to share with my client in a couple of cases. And if they seem interested in going into that, then we will. And we did. And it was pretty profound. But I don't know when that will happen. I can't control it. Yeah, we'll have to see if it will actually benefit people, maybe. But yeah, and also on this journey, you start to learn that there is a difference between reading someone's mind and mediumship. They are two different things. It is my belief that many of the so-called mediums in the world, what they are actually doing is reading images in someone's mind, psychically, which is a real gift and obviously impressive, but it's a whole other thing to have actual contact with a spirit on the other side. And so there's all these considerations, there's a lot of distortion. I would say that is the hardest part of the work around mediumship, is clearing your distortion. Hence, for me, sobriety has to be in place, right? But not only that, but distortions of the ego, distortions of doubt, distortions of a busy mind. It's endless, to be able to have that clear communication, at least at the place I'm at. I don't trust that it's clear enough to be giving readings, but we'll see. Anything else? I think I'm gonna stop there for this one, guys. Thank you so much for being here. And it just feels so good to be back. Oh my freaking God. It was really hard to step away from this place. And yeah. Okay. There's really no way to end this. I feel awkward, so I'm just going to go. But I love you guys. Thank you for being here.